Hello and welcome to another episode of Thursday Night Deck Building. I'm Kaiser and this week I'm going to have a look at the Hirogen. That means we're in the Delta Quadrant. Playing in the Delta Quadrant these days means that you have to play to 140 points instead of the regular 100. So sometimes people have used the Genesis device to double one of their high point missions in order to get to 140, but with the new objective Give Me Genesis that has just been released in Second Star to the Right, this has become a lot more risky. However, we can simply go the other way, and instead of playing high point missions, we'll play small missions using the well-known Homestead incident. In case you don't know it, this one gives you alternate win conditions. You win the game by doing 3 missions, one of which must be planet, one must be a space, and you must have 100 points. And it limits you to using only missions that show 30 points or less. We are going with these, and as you can see, 2 of them already have built-in abilities that can give us an extra 10 points to go around the corner, and there are also other ways in the deck. Now, playing Hirogen means that your personal selection is going to be very limited simply because they didn't get a lot of screen time. And it also means that you won't find any females. That's why we have to pair Hirogen with something else. And since there is no Hirogen treaty, your best bet is simply to mix them with non-alliance. And then you can actually build a rather powerful deck. Now this one is a very straightforward solver. If you're playing on your own in a Delta Quadrant, you should be fine. If you play against another Delta Quadrant deck, then it can become very interesting. You have some firepower, but this is not the focus of this deck. So let's have a look at the infrastructure. Of course, we'll use a Q's tent. We don't need any other doorways. We need our Hirogen outpost, and we'll also start with a seeded USS Equinox at Caretaker's Array. So that means our Hirogen outpost ideally is close to Liberation here. The outpost can seed at any of our space missions because they don't show affiliation icons, or at Hunt Alien. So in this case, in the middle of the space line, makes sense. Aboard the Equinox, we'll also seed Home Away from Home. This allows us to play 1 matching Delta Quadrant personnel. So matching can be non-aligned or Federation. Federation doesn't make a lot of sense because then if we put them in Federation mode, we can't mix with Hirogen. So despite the dual things, you can read this all as non-aligned. And the good thing is it also gives us a free play. Once each turn, one such person who has a silver star icon may report aboard for free. And the Hirogen outpost in the seed phase downloads Hirogen Hunt. What this does is, among other things, it allows you to play an alpha Hirogen for free every turn. So we have 1 free Hirogen, 1 free non-aligned personnel. And we still have our regular card play. So we can play 3 cards, so we also want to draw 3 cards. 1 card draw will be generated by Ancestral Vision, the other card draw will be generated by Process or Mining, and then we have our regular one. So we can play 3, we can draw 3 once everything is set up. And in order to help us set up these draw engines, we're going to use Assign Support Personnel. This will download a support personnel that can qualify for Ancestral Vision. And Defend Homeworld allows us easy access to the geology personnel that we need for process or mining. Other than that, we start, of course, with mission specialists at our Hirogen outpost. And we'll also have a Quarks isolinear rods that doesn't serve a specific purpose. It's good defense against computer crash, or we can also use it to download a personnel with computer skill ×2 and no officer. This can of course be 7 of 9, and then we have easy access to a personnel who has a blue Borg icon for the bonus points on this mission. So that's the entire seed part here. 12 seed cards giving you room for 18 dilemmas. What about the personal selection? Let's start with the Home Away from Home free plays. There are 10 in total: Nemira, Ichep, Noelessing, Ayala, Tourist, 7 of 9, Kess, the Android, Belana, and Dr. Marba Jetrel. 10 such guys in 45 cards gives you an 85% chance to find one in your opening hand, which is what you're really hoping for. So the other free play engine are Alpha Hirogen. There are 3 copies of the Universal Malice. That's a virtual Hirogen. And he's really good because he has security, which surprisingly can be a bit tricky with all the other Alpha Hirogen. And he also has Archaeology, which is good against Misinterpreted History and Quantum Leap. Then we have 1 copy each of most of the Decipher Alpha Hirogen, 2 copies of Car, simply because he is mentioned in lore of some of the other guys, so slightly better chances to have him in play, and also he has great skills. So all of these guys can play for free, 9 cards, giving you an 81% chance to find one in your opening hand. These guys, Janeway, Donic, and Gunn, and also Turange, whose image I don't really want to bring up on the in the upper left corner. I hate the swastika in the image here. They can play for free once the respective Alpha Hirogen is in play. And then we have some other guys. We've got some holograms that we can play for free with holodeck doors. Penk can be downloaded with Defend Homeworld. Hajur can be downloaded by Penk. And Ribi and Azan require our card play. This is a card that you could easily cut. It's simply here as some kind of contingency plan in case your other blue Borg have died. Okay, and that will leave us with some cards in the queue's tent. And we'll come to that in a moment. So, what else is there in the deck? Nothing much. Several copies of Holodeck Door, copies of Kiva's Farge Collector to draw cards, and 2 ships, the Olara and the Venetic Hunter, that we can simply download instead of a card draw with Hirogen Hunt at the end of our turn. So ideally, the game would look something like this. We play a non-aligned personal for free, we play an Alpha Hirogen for free, or somebody mentioned in the lore. We use our card play on a third personal, or maybe every other turn on a Kiva's Farge to get more cards in hand. And every turn we are also going to download a personal. In the first 2 turns, that's going to be a personal with assigned support personal, another one with Defend Homeworld. And for all the other turns, we are going to use holodeck doors. And we probably can also afford to discard a holodeck door every now and then, or a Kiva's Farge, or process or mining to cycle through our deck and simply draw more cards. Okay, so let's see how the theory holds up in practice. Ideally, we'd find 2 guys that can play aboard the Equinox in our starting hand. As I said, we have an 85% chance of getting one of the 3 cards there. Let's just see what we find in our 7. And we're good. So, one of our free plays, the Home Away from Home free play, is probably going to be the Trailer Unit or Nemira. We also found an Alpha Hirogen, so let's play the Karen there, and that still gives us our card play. We could go for the Kiva's Farge and get more cards in hand, but really we want to be able to fly our ship on the first turn. So we're going to use our card play on Yala, and then we have the stuffing on the Equinox. We can fly to here for a range of 4. Then we'll beam all these guys over. Angela Tassoni, one of our seeded mission specialists, has USS Equinox in lore, so that activates the bonus here, the range bonus. So we have 11, easily enough to get back to Liberation, or even over one of the other missions in case the space line isn't ideal. Then we are going to beam down McKay. And we are going to get rid of the assigned support personnel to get from our queues tent Dr. Neidham. He's non-aligned, he's a support personnel, so he can report aboard our non-aligned ship. He beams down to McKay. The only important thing about Dr. Neidham is that he has integrity of 8, which is enough to run Ancestral Vision. It requires an honor personnel who has integrity greater than 8. And that's a combination that he has. All right, so that already gives us another extra draw. McKay allows us now to cycle through our deck with 1 geology. If we have a second geology, can't guarantee it at this point, then we can also add the extra card draw from process or mining at the start of our next turn. Now, we were lucky because we had a geology that we could play for free in hand. So we are also going to beam down the Praeler unit. Then at the end of our turn, we're going to draw the regular card. We're going to draw the card from Ancestral Vision. And that's our first turn. Let's have a look. Our second turn looks good as well. We have an Alpha Hirogen that we can play for free. We have a Home Away from Home personnel that we'll play. And at this point, I think we'll use our card play for a Kivas Fajo to draw 3. Yeah, and then we draw into our first holodeck door. We could play it right now, or we could also use our Defend Homeworld download. Now, if we hadn't had Praeler unit in our opening hand, giving us a second geology with the mission specialist here already, then at this point we would use Defend Homeworld to download from our deck Penk, and then on our opponent's turn we would download a Tsunkatsu personnel, and that is of course Hajur. So Penk would be aboard the ship, and during the opponent's turn he would download Hajur, and then we would start our second turn, our third turn with 2 geology. Okay. Now, the important thing about process or mining is that, of course, it lets you draw cards, but it also gives you points. And if you paid attention to what I did, I started with the free plays, and it's important that you always take a moment in order to look at all the cards in your hand, and also look at the cards on table to remember what you want to do. Because otherwise you might miss the start of turn action, the process or mining. In this case, we have already cheated ourselves out of a card draw and out of a point. 1 point doesn't look like much, but it can make a difference. If we do it for 5 consecutive turns, that's just the same amount as assigned mission specialists, and that can be the 5 points that you need, or the 1 single point that's missing to win the game. So what we would do is, start of our turn, discard a card from hand, put the bottom non-ref card out of game, and then with 2 geology we could draw 2 cards. Let's just remember to do it next time. So, and I'm also going to play it as I normally would. Discard the Defend Homeworld, in this case for the download of Pink. And then on our opponent's turn, we would get the Hajur. For the moment, we can keep him. We could already do a mission attempt if we wanted. With Cass, we're definitely going to do it on the next turn. In this deck, I usually want to attempt aggressively. There are enough provisions that you can deal with 1 or 2 tricky dilemmas, and we'll have a look at these for our next turn. End of turn, draw 2 cards, and then at the beginning of our third turn, remember that during our opponent's turn, we'll download Jewel, And then we would definitely have the 2 geology. So, start of our turn. Let's have a look. What have we got? What don't we need? Our card draws are running now, so we can probably afford to get rid of the Kivas Farjo. So, start of turn. Process ore, we discard the Kivas Farjo. The bottom non-ref card of the discard pile goes into the point area, scores us 1 point. And then we'll draw 2 cards. And then we still have everything that we need. We can play a Home Away from Home Personal for free. This is definitely going to be Kess. We can play a Hirogen for free if it's an alpha, or somebody who mentions in lore an alpha we already have in play. For example, Gan mentions Dikaran in lore, so he can play for free. And our card play could be, for example, Kijal. And then we can still download somebody. In this case, let's play the holodeck door. And if we look at the holograms that we've got, in the tent here we have Anastasia Komanonov, which is one of the first ones we need, simply because she has the get out of jail free download of Smoke Bomb. Now with her we need to pay attention because she's not a Delta Quadrant personal. If we look at holodeck door, it says plays once each turn to download a holoprogram or a holographic icon card. If we don't have anything that allows Anastasia to report, we can't do it. We could do it if we have the Olara in play, because it says your holographic cards may report aboard. So that would work. Or it would also work if we play a holodeck door on the USS Equinox. It has holodeck the ability, but the holodeck door, if we play it on a ship, it also gives it the ability to report compatible holographic cards aboard. So make sure you stay on top of your quadrant icons, because just by playing it and downloading an alpha quadrant hologram, that does not automatically mean that you also have a place for her to report. Don't cheat your opponent that way. Let's put her back into tent. The other guy that you've just seen in the tent, the President of Earth, he's a hologram. He's mainly in there because he's a president and he can get through the executive authorization dilemma. We don't have any other way to get through that. So we could also go for one of the other holograms. There are a couple of really good ones. Mona loves it, same problem. She is alpha, so we need to find a way for her to report first. Or there is also, wherever he is, maybe we've got him in hand. Oh yeah, we've got him in hand. Eden with diplomacy, astrophysics can also be quite useful. So why not go for the president here? And then, as you can see, we are well equipped to attempt a mission. In space, our holodecks are active because of the holodeck on all of our ships. The Equinox has it, the Olara has a holodeck, and also the other Hirogen ship in the deck, the Venetic Hunter, has a holodeck. So in space we are good, and once we have decided which planet we want to attempt, one of our first downloads with holodeck door could always be Kijal if we don't draw into her, and then she can download the holoprojectors on that planet. All right, let's pick these guys up. We can just leave all these guys here, and then our third turn, as you can see, we have a rather good crew here of 11 personnel. So we would go for a space mission. We've got Cass, who can special download the gift, a ridiculously powerful ability that simply can look at a dilemma, and then you can flee that dilemma without suffering the consequences. If you can't beat it, then you can readjust. Once you know what's down there, you can send in a sacrificial lamb, clear out that dilemma, and the same is true for Anastasia Komanonov and Smoke Bomb. Sooner or later, these abilities will probably be addressed in some form, but while they are still valid plays, it would be foolish not to just use them. All right, and that's how the game goes its way. If we have a blue Borg, we can score our missing 10 points from Assist Cooperative. If we don't find a blue Borg, as I said, Quark's isolinear rods can be discarded, and then we can simply download to hand 7 of 9. Where is she? Yeah, she's already in hand. There is also another personal that we could download instead if 7 of 9 is already in our hand. If 7 has been killed, there is another way to get a blue Borg, and that is on Study Protonebula. Once per game, may download 1 to your ship here. 1 is this personal here. He has science, he shares all regular skills from all Borg at his location, which can be very nice. He can be a real skill monster if we have a few Borg in play, but really it's another way to get the blue icon for this mission here. For answer distress signal, as you've seen, we've got lots of holograms in the deck. Shouldn't be too difficult to have one in play by the time you solve. So those are 2 ways to get 10 points. If we remember to do process or mining at every opportunity, that also means after 5 turns of doing that, we are at 5 points here. And then with assign mission specialists, we can get the other 5 points. Just to show you where we can get these points from, McKay has geology. With process or mining, we add geology to these requirements, so we could get score 5 points right here. Or of course, we could go for the other missions. We start with a navigation, so he could use his navigation at Study Protonebula or Prison Break. And we have Ayala in the deck, mainly because he's security and he gives us better chances of staffing the Equinox on turn 1. But also his astrophysics could be used at Study Protonebula. So there are enough ways to get to 100 points here. What else is there in a tent? Some equipment cards that our personnel can download. The Disruptor Rifle is super powerful. Hirogen Talon, it's mainly in there simply because there was space left in the tent. The medical kit. Medical can be a bit of an issue. Equinox Doctor can download this, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. Smoke Bomb and the gift as cards that allow us to cheat out of dilemmas are in there while we can still use them. The remaining space was filled with other holograms. Garen for geo and navigation, which are a bit short in the deck here. Warrior's Birthright can be downloaded by Janeway, and then you can use strength instead of more difficult requirements, which can be quite useful if you run into God, for example. And one of the key Hirogen cards is Rituals of the Hunt. Rituals of the Hunt can be downloaded in place of your card draw with Hirogen Hunt, and what it does is it allows you to target an opponent's personal as prey. And then your Hirogen that have anthropology, and these are a lot, they simply add that personal's regular skills. For example, you run into a wall dilemma that requires, let's say, 3 diplomacy, and all your diplomacy are dead. Then it's enough if your opponent has diplomacy, and then you can target one of their diplomacy personnel and all your Hirogen anthropology guys added. So as you can see, Hajur has it, Karen has it. If we look in the deck, where is Car? Car has it. So there are enough guys. I think Karen as well, yeah. So that works quite fine. In fact, it might be a good idea that if you realize that there are a few skill holes that you can't get, that you simply can't fill, then try and see if you find dilemmas that ask for these skills, because chances are that your opponent must then put them in play and then you can copy them. But that's probably too much and convoluted thinking there. All right, and with that, I think we've addressed everything. As I said, the deck has room for 18 dilemmas. Use whatever you feel is interesting. You could also, of course, use another dilemma slot, for example, on a Cytherians for an easy 50 points, 15 points for yourself. Then you don't have to worry about all the rest. And that might free up a couple of your deck slots for other stuff. All right, that's almost everything I've got for this week. I just wanted to mention two things. I still have a few unclaimed cards from the Christmas raffle. Thanks for the guys who have already got in contact with me, and their cards are already on the way. But there are also a few people who haven't responded yet. So if you want your cards, please let me know. And one more thing, next week will be a little milestone that will be episode 20 of Thursday Night Deck Building. And for that, I'm hoping to have a very special guest, a master deck builder, who will show off one of the decks that they have been working on. I'll hope everything works out and we can get the episode filled in time for next Thursday. If not, it will come probably a couple of days later, but fingers crossed, and I'm already looking forward to it very much. That's all I've got. Bye-bye.